Hello, I'm Pat Desmond, and I'm the publisher of the Milton Times. And I'm here today with Kathy Corcoran.
Hey, Pat.
Who's the author of Magic Happens. This is a fascinating book. Do you want to give us a little synopsis of the book, Kathy, to start?
Okay, people ask me all the time, what is Magic Happens about? And I used to say it's about obsession. And I do believe it's about obsession. But the framework of the story is the main character is named Kate Driscoll. She is a suburban wife and mother, and she's a recovering alcoholic. Hasn't had a drink in 6 years, goes to AA meetings. And she and her husband go broke. They lose, her husband loses his business, and they go down the tubes financially. And partly to cope with the stress of all of this, Kate joins a local gym, and she becomes obsessed with the gym, and she falls in love with another woman who works at the gym as an instructor. So there's a little something for everyone, alcohol, sex, and money.
Kate is a recovering alcoholic, but she's a middle-class suburban mom. Not what most people think of as alcoholics. How did you decide to include Alcoholics Anonymous in your story?
Well, you know, there are millions of people who are helped by 12-step programs. Alcoholics Anonymous is one, and the first one, and then there's Al-Anon, there's Adult Children of Alcoholics, there's Dead Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, and so on. And the 12 steps of recovery have become really so mainstream in this culture. I wanted to have a character who took part in a 12-step program. And again, you're right, when people hear the word alcoholic, they probably think of a homeless old guy who doesn't shave and maybe is a street person. But I wanted Kate to be someone who could be the reader herself, or could be her sister or her neighbor. Put a face on an alcoholic in recovery to show that she's just like everybody else.
Is Kate really a lesbian?
She does fall in love with another woman, but it's not a real relationship. It's an obsession. It's like any obsession, which, and the point of it is to get you away from what's really happening in your life. You turn to something, whether it's a drink, a drug, a job. You know, there are workaholics, there are sexaholics. Is she a lesbian? I don't know. It doesn't matter. You know, she falls in love with another woman. She's been heterosexual all her life, and this experience opens her up to all kinds of possibilities that she never considered before. I think the lines are, you know, supposedly we're all on a continuum from strictly heterosexual to strictly lesbian or gay, and she probably falls somewhere in the middle, and probably a lot of us do.
Money is another sensitive issue. How do you think Kate's money problems affect her sense of self in relationships?
Well, I think, as so many women, Kate is baffled by money. She's confused by money. She grew up in a poor household. And when her husband doesn't hold up his end of the bargain, which is to continue to work and support the family, she is kind of clueless about it. But again, I think a lot of women have those issues. She does look for a job herself. She works part-time, but she has a small child who's in kindergarten, and you know, she's facing a lot of issues about money, and through the development of the story, she comes to understand a little bit better about financial issues.
You live on the South Shore of Boston. You're married and have one child. Are you Kate?
This is a work of fiction. You know, this is not my family, even though some people say they think it is. My father never drank. This is not my father, this is not my mother. The character of the father is JJ. He's my favorite character in the book. He seemed to walk onto the page and decided to stay, and it was great to meet him, and I just let him tell the story. I put Kate in what I think of as the classical alcoholic family growing up, and that is the alcoholic father, who in this case is a good time guy, who drinks but loves his family, and then the mother becomes the angry woman who tries to keep everything together. And you know, Kate grew up in an age when divorce was rare, especially among Irish Catholics, which is her family of origin. And the mother did what she could to keep everything together and try to keep the husband under control. And of course that was a losing battle. You can't control an alcoholic.
You live on the South Shore of Boston. You're married and have one child. Are you Kate?
I used real names in real places because I love that when I'm reading a book. I love a sense of place, and I think I got that across in Magic Happens. Kate is influenced by nature. She loves the ocean. She loves the beach. There's a lot of talk about the different seasons, about getting through a New England winter, which can be really difficult. I certainly have my issues with getting through New England winters. And so the answer is no, I'm not Kate. It's a work of fiction, but I did take a lot of real life and put it in there. And I think it makes it more interesting. I've decided that when people keep insisting that I'm Kate and my husband is Bob, I take that as a compliment because it means that the book seems so real that people believe it is real.
How did you come up with the title, Magic Happens?
Well, I actually have this little necklace that I had made up, and I put it in the book. You hear an expression a lot of times, and I see a bumper sticker too, shit happens. And shit definitely does happen, and a lot of it happens to Kate, but magic happens too. Those little unexpected things that happen if we're aware and awake and can keep our eyes open. Little miracles are happening all the time, and that's something that Kate finally comes to realize, that in spite of the fact that shit happens, you can go looking for more shit, or you can go looking for some magic, and that's what she finally realizes.
You've done some speaking engagements around it.
One thing I love doing is book clubs, and I've done a number of book clubs, and I'm more than happy to do more. Where the book club would read the book, and then I would go to the meeting where they discussed it. And that's just fascinating. I love that. It really sparks some interesting discussion. The whole sexuality issue is uncomfortable for a lot of people. Some people are more comfortable with it than others. The money issue, especially in this day and age, who hasn't felt some kind of money, money problems, money cramping your style, not able to do the things you used to do. You know, when you live in a fairly wealthy suburb, as Kate does, and everybody around you seems to have it all together. Nobody talks about not having money. How do you cope with that? How do you deal with it? So very interesting topics for discussion in the book clubs.
I thank you very much, and
Great.
you know, I think everybody should read Magic Happens. It's really a fun, wonderful book.
Thank you, Pat.